Welcome to the Matt Reiser Radio Show on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network. Now, live from Buddy's Bar and Grill in Hammond, here's Alan Waddell.
Well, the Southeastern baseball season has come to an end, and it certainly feels like yesterday that we were just getting started. The season came to a screeching halt this past week in Sugar Land, Texas, as our Lions dropped a heartbreaker to Northwestern State, and then to Nichols the next day. Overall, our Lions finished 37-22 overall and finished second in the Southland Conference race, as this was certainly a year that had some major highlights and some disappointments, but also marked the 10th consecutive season our Lions have won 35 games or more. And it certainly says a lot about our program when we sit here on Selection Monday and we're all very disappointed to not be in the national tournament because it has become such a norm over the last few years. But it's time to get to the offseason and figure out a way to get back to a regional next year. Good evening, Lion fans. I'm Alan Waddell, and I want to welcome you to the finale of the Matt Reiser Radio Show presented by North Oaks Health System, live from our home, Buddy's Bar and Grill, right here in Hammond. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be tonight, whether on the Lions Radio Network or watching the archive on Facebook or YouTube. We'll be with you until 8 o'clock tonight. Over the next hour, we'll get Coach Reiser's thoughts on the season and get a preview of the offseason. But first, let's take a break. When we come back, I'll be joined by the head baseball coach of your Southeastern Lions, Matt Reiser. The Matt Reiser Radio Show is presented by North Oaks Health System and Buddy's Bar and Grill on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
This is not a rebuilding effort, like I said before. A championship without a degree is not good enough. I want to win now. Our players want to win now.
Be a part of the Frank Selfo era. Call 985-549-LION or visit www.lionsports.net.
What does it mean to be Southland strong?
It's not just big wins.
It's success in the classroom
and being engaged with service,
family, passion,
integrity,
overcoming adversity,
hard work and dedication,
bettering people around you,
striving for excellence,
leadership and competition
on our campuses
and in our communities.
We are Southland strong.
All right, welcome back to Buddy's Bar and Grill. Before we get started here tonight, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
Funded in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. We're 90.9 FM, KSLU, Hammond.
All right, thank you. And at this time, let's welcome to the show the head baseball coach of your Southeastern Lions, Coach Matt Reiser. And, Coach, thanks for being here. I know that you didn't want this to be our final show of the season, but we will –
You will keep talking.
I think you're there. You're there.
Am I there?
Yeah, you're there. Okay, so, Matt, I know you didn't want this to be your final show of the season. Certainly wasn't the week you wanted over there in Sugar Land, and it was just a crazy week. You know, you pitched so well. Your starters were outstanding, but really summed up the week is in the later innings just didn't get it done out of the bullpen.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks to show on here, and obviously it started the first week with South Allen, Houston, and I really thought we set ourselves up well to go into the tournament. We got a really nice win there at the end of the year at home against Houston, 5-4 win to go in this tournament with some confidence about ourselves. We had done it pitching-wise that week. We had done it hitting-wise earlier in the week with beating South Alabama 12-9. So, really felt good where we were at. And to be honest with you, Alan, I really liked our draw. Looking at our side of the bracket of who we had and the matchups we had with Northwestern State and Nichols and Austin McNeese on that side as well. I just thought it was a really good matchup for us. And, got off to the right start there with Nichols. That game was so valuable to get that win right out the chute, because when you get yourself in a loser's bracket over there, it's tough to get out. Obviously I think we had the pitching staff to do that, but that first win is just so valuable to get and obviously just build some confidence for the next day. Had a tight one there with Nichols. We did a good job pulling away there late on Wassinger's 2-run homer, and then obviously had one out left to get. There was some kind of I guess maybe related to the further problems we had in the tournament. One out left in the in that game against Nichols, and Biddy comes in and just really wasn't himself there at the end of the year. We had brought him in against Houston the week before. He gave up the 2-run homer and it had 3 strikeouts to get the save. Brought him in to get one more out. In the tournament format, obviously you want to save your bullets that you got. With a 4-0 lead, runner at second, 2 outs. Look at the paper, the right-hander was hitting $180 against right-handers, so we bring Biddy in the game. But maybe that was maybe the discouraging moment for him, because obviously it showed its ugly head again there against Nichols again in the second game on the backside of it. So they scored a few runs, but it really came down to me for one inning. That ninth inning against Northwestern State, I thought that was the end of the tournament. Whoever ended up winning that inning was going to win the tournament, and just because the highs you run of being 2-0 in the tournament, the position you put yourself in, where we would have been pitching-wise, we'd have had Carlisle Kessler to pitch us into the championship game, also with Grenier and Canop ready to go for the championship game. That ninth inning was a heartbreaker against Northwestern State, and just one of those games that we just couldn't finish off. And then obviously it kind of carried over to that Nichols game as well.
Matt, when you look back at this season, obviously we're going to talk more about all these games throughout the program here tonight, as we'll be with you until 8 o'clock. But certainly I think maybe the theme of the season, I'd like to know if you agree, is you played really, really well you have some very big wins against some high-profile programs, but maybe let some games where you're more talented and then the other team get away from it. I mean, I think if you look up and down the schedule, that's one of the themes of this season. I mean, I don't know if I could. Our non-conference wins were maybe as good as we've had. I mean, we've had some really good non-conference wins this year. Played really well. You mentioned it going into the last week. We split with Houston, who ends up making the tournament. You beat South Alabama. We beat UL Lafayette. We beat LSU. I think you said earlier we have 6 wins over teams that are in the tournament this year. So. But then in some of those other games where you're the better team, you let a few get away from you.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And we knew a little bit of this was going to be part of the issue maybe early, obviously, with moving Josh Green out of that closing role into the starting role. I think a big piece of this staff was Evan Howman as well, who obviously didn't have the season that he wanted to have. That was part of our comfort in moving Josh Green to the rotation, was to have the experience in Evan Howman in the back end of the bullpen. And just a guy who just, in all honesty, unfortunately didn't get it done for us there early in the season, and it kind of a revolving door. We felt like we found a comfort level there, obviously with Jared Biddy about halfway through the season, and then that kind of fell through there at the end of the year for us to finish some games off. So just, I think the main thing going into the offseason that we'll talk about here a little bit more in detail later, but I think one glaring issue is to solidify that closer role. We don't need to solidify or try to close by committee where like we did this year with Bryce Tass and Schaefer. Biddy had a save. I think Carlisle Kessler had a save in there. We kind of used by committee with matchups. We got to find that closer role, and we got to have somebody that's going to embrace that and take that and run with it.
And that's something, since you've been here, and Coach Latham, who's in attendance tonight as well, something you've always had. You've always had a guy that you could really just rely. You rolled him out there in the ninth, and the game's pretty much over. And like you said, this year you had several guys that stepped up in big games and got the job done, but not one guy that you could say, hey, this is going to be the guy every night when it's time to go out there and close the deal. Matt, I know you. I know you're your competitor. I know your staff. Like I said earlier, Coach Latham shared with your entire staff's here tonight. I know y'all are competitors, and just tell me what it was like sitting there today and knowing your name wasn't going to be in the field.
Yeah, we got back Friday night. Saturday did our exit meetings and had our conversations, obviously, with our seniors to say goodbye, but also with our guys to return. And, to be honest, we had nauseated on Saturday, first time in my 5 years, not to watch Selection Show Monday, even though we didn't get in that 2015 year when we had 42 wins. Obviously, we felt like we had deserved to be in. We
thought there still might be a chance.
Yeah, no doubt. We thought the resume was there to get in. But, this was the first year, I didn't even watch it, to be honest with you. They were talking about who's going where. Northwestern's going to Corvallis, and it was one of those shows that, tough to swallow. First time in 5 years to be in the situation and not be able to watch that NCAA selection committee. But in the same breath I say that, don't want to take away from the season we had. We had 37 wins. There's 37 good wins in there. We finished second in the conference and really made, again, proud of our guys for making the run like we did there at the end of the year, because this thing could have got mailed in and blown up about halfway through the year. We put ourselves in a really nice position there at the end of the year, the last month and a half. And, again, really came down to one end against Northwestern State. This could be a completely different conversation we're having right now if we could finish that game off. But like you said, we're competitors. I think the schedule's set up for next year to not put ourselves in a situation where if we got 37 wins, we have to win the tournament. I think 37 wins next year, we're talking about winning a game or two in the conference tournament to solidify an at-large bid again with the way the schedule's set up. We'll, again, discuss later. But, at the end of the day, like you said, you're going to go back and get excited about what we got coming back. As nauseated as I was on Saturday, was as relieved as I was on Sunday and Monday, just knowing we got a lot of veterans coming back. We'll have 15 seniors in next year's group. We're returning everybody on the pitching staff except for Josh Green, his 80-something innings that he had pitched. And then actually signed some more junior college guys to come in to help solidify that. So, obviously Drew Ravens will be missed. The season he had a season to remember. Put up player of the year type numbers as well. But, he got Cody Gross back, which is a big part of this offense. I think you got guys that are freshmen that are a year better, guys like Trey Schaefer and Will Warren, obviously on the staff, but you got Kyle Schimpf, who's a year better. He had a year where it was inconsistent. And that's part of it. You bring in so many new guys, whether it's JC or freshmen, really them trying to learn the style of play that we have, especially offensively. I thought we started to learn that about halfway through the year. Now that we're going to have that for a full year next year, it's exciting. It's one of those where you're ready to put the big britches back on and go get back to work because what we've got in front of us and on the horizon.
Matt, I got to ask you, we got to get to a break in just a second, but I want to ask you quickly before we get to this break. I know it's got to be frustrating for somebody like you, for somebody like Coach Deggs at Sam Houston State who won the conference.
Right.
Sam Houston finishes 19 games above 500. We finish 15 games above 500. You have 37 wins. They have 39 wins. They get knocked out in the conference tournament. Well, they don't get in. And these are two programs, yourself, Sam Houston State. I'm just kind of lumping us in here because I feel like we have a lot of the same.
A lot of similarities.
Yeah, a lot of similarities. And these are two programs that in the non-conference, you go out and challenge yourself early. You'll go play anybody. You'll welcome anybody into your ballpark and play those guys. You try to do that, but unfortunately, conference RPI is not quite high enough, and the RPI doesn't get you there. And it's just disappointing that only one team from the Southland gets in.
Yeah, and the RPI is unfortunate, and I thought the committee did a decent job now looking at the bracket here within the last hour. I thought there was a few anomalies in there that, that Coach Tanner came out and discussed. He was the chairman who was the old head coach here at South Carolina. I think that's where the NCAA is getting this at least right. They're putting baseball people on the committee, the guys who know what it takes and knows the metrics and knows emphasis, and they had an identity and the emphasis. They were trying to identify guys who really did a good job of winning their conference. Unfortunately, Sam Houston did not get identified for that. You look at a Northeastern who got in out of the Colonial League, and the RPI every year it's going to favor some league. Obviously, we didn't have that favorable RPI this year. I think Conference USA fell in our same category. But if you go look at the Colonial League, I think they're one that benefited from it. You got Northeastern in who didn't have a series win against any regional opponent the entire year. They lost their 2 and 3 seed in their conference. Both series there as well. So, but the RPI is 35 for them because maybe they played a little bit more road-induced schedule. They get in. So every year it's going to venture some way or another, favor somebody conference-wise. I think the Big Ten was another conference that was very favorable to again.
Yeah.
It kind of favored a little bit more of the road opponents, so to speak, this year than it did at home opponents.
Yeah, you look at some of the Louisiana teams, and I know people that are listening, they care about that. And, ULL, they don't get in. They have 34 wins.
Yep.
Louisiana Tech has 39 wins, 21-9 in Conference USA. They are not in the field. So for some reason, For us here in Louisiana, the RPI just didn't work out this year. But let's go ahead and take a break. We come back, we'll get more thoughts from Matt Riser. We're going to be here till 8 o'clock talking Lion baseball on the Matt Riser Radio Show presented by North Oak Cell System and Buddy's Bar and Grill on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
Across divisions, sports, championships, and schools for nearly 500,000 student athletes, college sports create lifelong opportunity, and that starts with education. We've raised the academic bar, so more are earning degrees, creating healthier campuses by working with the nation's brightest minds, and making sure more have the chance to succeed and are supported on their journey. But beyond the numbers, it's about opportunity, and we're working to provide it for every student athlete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for providing the facilities to meet my health and nutritional needs in order for me to be the best student athlete I can be.
For making game day experiences go from ordinary to extraordinary.
For allowing me to meet new people and build lifelong friendships while competing at the school I love.
For giving me the resources to pursue my degree and the ability to excel in the classroom.
For helping me look my best as I compete and achieve my goals.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the Matt Riser Radio Show. We're live from Buddy's Bar and Grill. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be tonight, whether listening to us on the Lion Radio Network. And also a reminder, these shows and all of our shows are archived on the Southeastern Louisiana University Athletics Facebook page and also on their YouTube page, so you can go back and watch all of our shows all year long. We're talking with Matt Riser. Unfortunately, the Southeastern baseball season has come to an end. Lions finish up 37-22. Had a tough week at the conference tournament, won the opener, and then dropped two very heartbreaking games in the next two to be eliminated from the tournament. Northwestern State ended up winning the Southland Conference tournament. They played UNO in the championship game, and UNO almost didn't even get in the conference tournament as they were the 8th seed, made it all the way to the championship game. I am glad to see, Matt, I'll get your thoughts on this. I am glad to see that a Louisiana team got in, out of the conference, and Northwestern should they were playing very well at the end of the year. I think they won 15 out of their last 18.
Yeah, and I'm actually glad that they won. I think they're going to represent us well in the Corvallis Regional. We'll see what they do as far as winning a game or not. But I think they're the better club. I think they can pitch it enough to be able to beat a few guys. And, Sugar Land, the Skeeter Park, it plays, or at least the way it played this past weekend, was a pitcher-friendly ballpark. And, and that's what Northwestern does. I think it played in their favor from that standpoint. They had the Rich Heiser kid, the JUCO kid that transferred into their Friday night guy who pitched extremely well to a 2-1 win against McNeese. We saw the newcomer of the year and the Jerry Maddox kid. He pitched it to a 1-run, 5-1 win there where they scored the 5 runs in the ninth, but it's a 1-0 ball game going to the ninth. And then they win the next game 3-2. So if they can pitch it like that when they go to Corvallis, why it would put Northwestern and LSU in Oregon, I have no idea. But
maybe they'll share a plane.
Yeah, maybe they'll share a plane ticket.
That's not a culture shock, huh?
Yeah,
Two Louisiana teams in Corvallis, Oregon.
It'll be fun. There'll be a lot of good eating up there for sure. But no, I'm glad they got a chance. Coach Bobby Barbier got Coach of the Year. They had the Player of the Year. They won the Home Run Derby. It's just it's one of those.
It was
years.
their week.
That's it. It was just kind of their year, the magic that they had kind of going around their program, and to make their first run in 30 years, I think it was, the first time in 30 years they won the Southland Conference Tournament. Some of this stuff has to play out just perfect, and it was a storybook ending to obviously their season to be able to win that tournament.
Matt, you mentioned it earlier about Drew Avens and what a special year he had, and certainly when the conference awards came out, I thought he would be in a running for the Southland Conference Player of the Year. I think we have had it, 3 years in a row?
3 years in a row.
We had the Conference Player of the Year 3 years in a row. But I do have to say this. The young man who won it from Northwestern State, he came up with some very big hits for them at this tournament, and he made some. I mean, he had some great at bats, which really propelled them, other than their pitching, to winning the conference championship.
No doubt. If you look back at the Northwestern game when we played them, we were excited about the way we played out the eighth. We were able to get the guy in front of Fry out,
right,
in a big moment with the tying run on base, and to make him have to lead off the ninth inning. We were excited about that, just because there was nobody on base. Hey, let's go at him. The worst he can do, or the best he can do, is tie it up. And he did. He came up with a big at bat. We had him down to 2 strikes. He took a couple ugly swings with 2 strikes just to stay in it, and then absolutely hammered the ball in a gap. And again, this is a ballpark. The ball wasn't flying at all. Somehow or another, got it just enough into the gap to, where Drew Avens couldn't run it down, and gets a leadoff double there to kind of get them going in that inning. And that was the history of what he did in his career. That's what he did the entire time in the conference tournament. If you watch game after game after game, he had the big home run in the championship game to take the lead 6-5. He just continued to come up with big at-bats, and that's where you want that veteran in that moment, in that spot. Obviously, I thought he had a fantastic year, but going back to Drew, I thought he had a great year as well. And, it was
you don't see a lot of 10 home run, 20 stolen base seasons in college baseball
It's
anymore.
a rarity. It's a rarity, and especially in this league. And you just looked at comparison from number standpoint. I thought Drew Avens was very well deserving at least the first-team All-Selection, which he received. So for him to end his career like it did, I was very proud of him. I thought he was very well deserving of the honors, and I'll see all the hard work he put into it. Hopefully we'll hear his name called next week in the MLB draft.
Matt, let's talk about your starting pitching through the conference tournament. You give up 1 earned run out of 3 starts.
Yep.
It was outstanding, and I don't know if anybody in the country was pitching as good as Corey Giacone down the stretch. He was outstanding once again and led you off with a big win against Nicholls State to open the tournament.
Yeah, you're right. Here's Corey Giacone again emerging as our guy there at the end of the year. Pitched extremely well against Nicholls. Went 7 1/3, I think, or maybe 7 2/3. We were able to go to the freshman left-hander Trey Schaefer, who pitched extremely well as well. That's a very left-handed lineup in Nicholls State. So we were able to bring in the left-hander there and shut him down for an inning and a third. And Corey Giacone, just what that young man did from the start of the season to the end of the season is why he is such a veteran. But again, this is why I get so excited about next year, too, because we have this young man back for another year. Also, we lost Josh Green, and his performance can't go unnoticed as well against Northwestern State. But what Corey Giacone has brought to the table there, especially at the end of the year, the big games he pitched in, all the experience rolls into next year where he is going to be an outstanding arm for us, especially at the end of the year when we're trying to win championships.
Once again, just kind of give you the run Corey Giacone finished his season on, and there's certainly a team that's going to be playing this week that is lucky that that this pitching staff wasn't going against him, in a regional. In the last 38 1/3 innings for Corey Giacone to end the season, he gave up 3 earned runs. So wow. 38 1/3, he was outstanding. He got the win over there in Sugar Land against Nicholls State. Matt, I want you to touch on it just a little bit more. I know it was disheartening the way those. You said it earlier. It kind of came down to that 1 inning against Northwestern. You were winning 1-0 going into the 9th inning, and just kind of felt like you're on cruise control there. I mean, they really couldn't get anything going. They had something going in the 7th. They hit a line drive right back at Green. He's able to spear it and get the double play there at second base. And you just kind of at that point felt like, hey, you know what? We're going to win this thing 1-0.
Yep.
But I want to get you to touch on, you had some opportunities earlier in the game to maybe extend that lead. And when it stays 1-0, it's just scary. It's a scary moment.
No doubt. We had the 1-0 lead. And anytime you're in a tight game like that, especially in tournament time, I think Josh only gave one hit the entire game until the ninth inning, or maybe 2 hits the entire game until the ninth inning. So, run one ball game like we discuss all the time, runs are so valuable, especially tournament time, that you got to continue to extend the lead. We had our opportunities early. Mike Taylor had the base loaded twice, had 2 really bad at-bats. One was a strikeout, and one was a 2-pitch weak ground out to shortstop. And in all honesty, I probably overthought that. If there was one managerial mistake that I thought I really made this past weekend in the tournament, that was one of them. Evan Pace has been swinging a really hot bat and just kind of overthought the situation. Pace had DH for us the day before. I had intentions, and I did start him in Game 3 behind the dish. It was hot. It was one of those, hey, I think we can DH Mike and not, Pace, and let him rest and be ready for the next day. In hindsight, now that you go back and look at it, I should have started Pace and stayed with it and wouldn't overthought the situation. But you live and you learn and you move on from it. But we definitely had our opportunities early there to extend it against a good arm. Early he wasn't very good. He wasn't his normal self. We had the opportunity there in the first inning to really blow that thing open and didn't. And when you give it a good arm like that, multiple outs or multiple situations to get out of jams, then he starts to get comfortable, get confident, he finds who he is, and that's what he did there late on us.
All right, let's talk about Game 3 for just a moment against Nicholls State. A team, again, Nicholls finished their season really red hot. They swept Central Arkansas to just get in the tournament. So they were playing as well as they had played all year. You beat them in Game 1. They came back and beat McNeese the next day to force to get back into that third game. And this was kind of a roller coaster. You're up, then they tie it, and then it kind of feels like they're going to win it late in the game, and then you go up and score 4 runs in the ninth. And I told you earlier, I was kind of pulling one of those Tom Hanks moments. We're going to win. And then it's just a very disappointing way for the season to end. I know your players, your coaches have to be sick and don't want to relive it too much, but certainly a tough one to swallow there with a 4-run lead in the ninth.
Yeah, I thought we did a really good job of just kind of staying in the ball game. We had some situations there that we ran late that we executed to perfection to score some runs in the top of the ninth inning. Ran our first and third play to perfection, double steal where we stole a run there as well. We get a big 2-out knock, for us, and we'll talk a little bit this when we talk about all season and going forward. But I thought our 2-out hitting this year was just dismissible. It was just it was painful to watch, to be honest. It's one that we've prided ourselves on for years, and 2-out hitting this year just was not very good, to be honest with you. But Schwarner comes up with a big 2-out knock, gets the big 2-out RBI. 2 of them, to extend that lead to 6-2, and you do. You feel like, hey man, that was a knockout punch. There it is. Let's go ahead and move forward. Again, in the tournament, you don't want to leave anything to chance, so we made the move and went ahead and went to Biddy to come back and close it out. Felt like a little redemption was in line there for him. And we didn't play defense behind them. Unfortunately, we made 2 errors there in the last inning. We try to salvage it by going to Mason Knopp, who I thought did a fantastic job of coming out of the bullpen on an arm that you normally don't get a double play ball out of. With the double play guy, we got it. And unfortunately made the error there again. And when you make errors in the ninth inning, you give free passes in the ninth inning, it makes it extremely tough to close out ball games. And unfortunately, we did that there in the end in both games against Northwestern and Nicholls. And season came to a very abrupt end there. But again, in this, proud of the guys even put themselves in the situation to finish off the year like we did. I thought it was a huge learning experience for a lot of our guys. When you bring such an influx of new guys in the program, we brought 18 or 17 new guys in the program, a lot of junior college transfers in this as well. We had some freshmen that really contributed for us. It's, again, learning that style of play and learning what expectations are. And that's what I knew we were losing last year in leadership. Offensively, with losing the Byers and the Kreitz and the Sewards and the Webb Bobos and Derek Mounts, there was just so much. There were so many seasoned vets in that lineup that had been in so many big games and throughout their career. it's helping these guys understand how quickly they've got to learn it, coming into the program and understand exactly what expectations are. And I thought we felt our way through that till about halfway through the year. And, obviously the experience, it was a tough one to swallow, but I think it's something that only makes us stronger in moving forward for next year.
I know that's always a tough conversation with your kids at the end of the game, end of the season. You know that you're never going to be with that group again.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can say to take the pain away, to be honest with you. And that's kind of my same conversation at the end of every year. Nothing I'll say will make you feel any better right now. I can tell you how proud of you I am. I can't sum up into words of the gratitude I have to the seniors for what they had accomplished and their tenure. Gage Pickett is our all-time winningest player in the history of our program because of his 5 years. He overtook Ryan Byers. That we had 37 wins this year. I made him aware of that in his exit meeting to let him know he's the winningest player of all times in our program because Ryan Byers' redshirt year, we only won 36 games, so he beat him out by 1 game. But, it's just one of those moments, man, that I tell our guys that are returning, don't forget about that pain. Make sure you store that pain within, and every time that you want to skip a rep or you want to feel like you want to take a day off and not do what you need to do from a work ethic standpoint, whether it's in the weight room or classroom or on the field, just make sure you use that as a driving force each and every day, and our guys will do that. They'll bounce back and obviously be better than ever for next year.
Matt, I'm glad you brought up that point about Gage Pickett. I wanted to bring this back up as I know in the final game of the year against Houston, you brought him in a relief opportunity. I thought that was a very classy move on your part, and he responded. Throws a shutout inning up there and really sets up for an opportunity to win the game against a team that gets in the tournament.
Yeah, no doubt. It was it's that balance. You're playing non-conference games and you're getting ready for the tournament, but in the same breath, the competitive edge takes over, right? And you're not just playing favorites. We talk about to the guys all the time that this is not a charity event. You don't get out there just because you feel like you owe something. You're going to get out there because you've earned something. And I thought Gage Pickett did a fantastic job of being a really good teammate the entire year. I haven't counted up and finished the voting yet for teammate of the year, but he was definitely up there, him and Trenton Trotsclair. So I'll finish those votes. But it was something he had earned. It was a moment that he had earned. I thought he was a good matchup to where we were in that moment in the game to be able to speed up, slow back down, and speed back up for the 9th inning. And just really proud of what that young man had accomplished. And that hug we had there after he got off the mound was one that I'll remember forever.
Certainly so. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We come back. We're over halfway home as we're going to start taking a look at next year, maybe some scheduling things. We'll get Matt to talk a little about the draft that's coming up. And then we're going to say goodbyes. We'll be with you until 8 o'clock here tonight. This is the Matt Riser Radio Show presented by North Oak Health System and Buddy's Bar and Grill on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
This is not a rebuilding effort, like I said before. A championship without a degree is not good enough. I want to win now. Our players want to win now.
Be a part of the Frank Selfo era. Call 985-549-LION or visit www.lionsports.net.
What does it mean to be Southland strong?
It's not just big wins.
It's success in the classroom.
And being engaged with service.
Family.
Passion.
Integrity.
Overcoming adversity. Hard work and dedication.
Bettering people around you.
Striving for excellence.
Leadership and competition.
On our campuses.
And in our communities.
We are Southland strong.
All right, welcome back to the Matt Reiser Radio Show. Live from Buddy's Bar and Grill. We'll be with you until 8 o'clock tonight talking Lion baseball. This is the finale of 2018. I was just telling Matt the next time the radio network will be on the air will be the debut of the Frank Selfo show, the football show. As baseball's wrapping up. 37-22, your Lions finish up 10 consecutive years of 35 wins or more for Southeastern baseball. I know a lot of people are disappointed that we're not in the postseason, but certainly I don't think we took a step back. We just didn't maybe even take a step forward for this year. But I know that we're going to talk a little bit more now about maybe some plans for next year. I was just asking you, I know you mentioned earlier about Drew Avens. He's a senior, possibly getting his name called in the Major League Draft. I know that's another one of the streaks that Southeastern has going. I don't know how many drafts in a row, but we've had a lot where guys have gotten taken in the Major League Draft. Any fears of any underclassmen maybe getting taken off of this year's club?
Yeah, we'll have to look at it. I thought just talking draft in general, we'll talk, I guess, maybe seniors first, and I'll move to other classmen. I think Drew Avens is no doubt proven himself. I'm really hoping he gets an opportunity. Because
God, he's been a good player.
He has, man, and he really, if you match him up to other players in the country, I don't know if anybody matches him. There's not many in the country that match him for strength and defensive abilities, arm strength, just the whole tool set.
And also
and
remember, Drew played a lot of the year hurt. I mean, he had 20 stolen bases like right out the bat.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And he ended up, I think, with 22. Yep. He was really running a little gimpy, but. Yep. Sometimes you watch him play, and you don't realize he's as fast as he is. But he ran a really good time in the 60. I know that. I've had some scouts tell me that.
Yeah, he did. On scout day, he ran a 6.56, obviously. So that was a very beneficial time for him to obviously show scouts that the ability's in it, the talent's in there. His time down the line is not great. It's average for a left-hander. But, his ability to use a short game, the bunt, and the ability to be able to steal bags is fuel for it. Obviously play in his favor as well. Josh Green is another one that we definitely believe will get his name called. He had made the hype last summer, being in the Alaska League, not giving up a single earned run, converting him to a starter, allowing the scouts to see him a little bit more often, and just kind of expand his repertoire a little bit in his mix of pitches. Everybody knew the sinker was going to be a big league pitch, but what's he going to have to go with it? At the next level, he's going to be a reliever. There's no doubt in that, but that start he had against Northwestern State, I was able to actually talk to one of the Rockies guys, a guy that's in the Texas area. Hey, man, this guy's really good. He turned him in a 4th to 7th round type pick. They believe that he's a money saver from a senior standpoint. Our area guy with the Rockies said the same thing. So with a bunch of reports coming back in with the same, I'll see information coming back. I would foresee him going in the top 10 rounds. Another one that you would look at would be Carlisle Kessler. Talk about underclassmen. There is a possibility, just because numbers and metrics, there's so many analytics in this now with Major League Baseball. There was guys who came in to see Kyle Sedetol his senior year, and really it wasn't because of the stuff. They came and saw the stuff. It was like, really, this guy's putting up this kind of numbers? But it was the ability to consistently do it for so many years in our program. The analytic guys sent their guys in to come see him, and they ended up taking them. So this is one where Carlisle Kessler might match up with that as well. Not your typical, prototypical type of professional arm. It's a 6-foot right-hander. It's 87-91. Really pitches more with his off speed and keeping guys off balance and timing and rhythm. But he might get an opportunity to go. So he is the one we are a little concerned about possibly losing with this year's draft. But obviously that thing is so fickle, and there's no way to predict any of the outcomes of that. But obviously those seniors, we definitely wish the best of luck to hopefully get that opportunity and get that name called.
All right, Matt, let's talk a little bit about, maybe some outlook for a year from now. I know that's kind of hard to do. The season just ended, but one thing I'm just looking at, maybe some areas of need, what has to improve if we're going to get this thing to the next level. Yep. I don't know if you realize this, but we finished exactly 37-22 a year ago. Identical records from a year last year to this year. So 37-22. Lions did the same thing this year. I was just kind of looking, team batting average, very similar, right around 250 for the season. Team batting average. Scored about 50 more runs last year than this year. And one of the reasons for that is this year you had 40 home runs. Last year you had 60. We had 3 guys with double-digit home runs a year ago. Stole more bases this year. I think it's about 17 more this year. Set the school record for stolen bases, but that's still pretty close, when you look at it. But maybe some thoughts on where this thing's got to go offensively, because there was some times this year where offense looked really good, and there were some times where we struggled. And this week was one of those times where we really never got it going and had one of those breakout offensive games of the conference tournament. And we were really playing well offensively going into the conference tournament.
No doubt, and that's what we discussed, that this offense could go halfway the way it knew how to. We'd be in really good shape for the tournament, and it did the back end of the season. That's why we were winning. It didn't show up for the tournament, so that's why we didn't win. We knew the pitching was consistent enough for us to have success throughout the entire year. And he even had national media come in. Kendall Rogers came in the UConn series, saw us hit that day. He got some really good arms. He goes, hey, man, this offense has got a really chance to really propel this club. We'll see where the pitching's at. So that was his first take and first impression of our club. And in all honesty, Alan, we bring in so many new guys, them learning how to play our style of offense. You look at some of the general numbers, the batting average and the runs scored, and you go, hey, man, well, you hit more homers last year. Maybe that's why you scored more runs. Not necessarily. I believe the reason why we scored more runs last year is because two-out hitting. I thought it was way more contagious, though we did a much better job, and it's just funny how you work that out with two-out RBIs. I thought our execution with running at third in less than two was a lot more productive. That's a number that didn't show up in this stat book. Right. I thought our ability to run the bases, yes, you look at paper and you go, man, they stole 136 bases. This is probably the best base running club we've ever had. Not true, to be honest with you, because there's things that don't go in the stats. Go on first to third, playing the eyes up, run the double squeeze. First year we didn't steal home. First time in 5 years that we haven't stole home, and we're able to do that in years past. So those
what are you doing?
Back breakers, exactly. And it's getting these guys to learn how to play our style and also create the runs. I don't think we did that as much this year. I thought that's where we learned about halfway through the year, and that's where the runs really started coming in there at the back half, and where we started showing more production. But again, the bright note in that going forward is now they know. I think they have a better understanding. I think the JUCO guys who had just the very admissible years, the 200 batting average and just 20 runs scored. Next year, their abilities are going to allow them to hit 300 with 40 runs scored, and they're going to be able to go first to third and recreate situations. And just it's. I foresee our offense being a lot more perpetual next year to be able to go a little bit deeper and score more runs.
I think that's what's so funny about baseball is there's some sabermetricians and all this stuff. There's people that dive into these numbers, and that's what's so unique from looking from 1 year to year. You walked almost identical amount of times this year. I think it was within 10 10 walks, and over a whole season that's pretty close. Right. And then your on base percentage is almost exactly the same, but then 50 runs less, and that goes back to, like you said, maybe hunting that extra base, maybe that two-out hit, or are those executing, with runner on third base and less than 2 outs, and certainly room for improvement, because we saw last year's team put up offensive numbers that were better than this year's team, basically with the same opportunities.
No doubt, 100%. And last year's club scored over more than a run per game than what we did this year, and it was in the top 50 in scoring, where we were probably top 150, probably top half this year in scoring. And in all honesty, it was. In my opinion, that's what I told our guys in exit meetings. This is probably the worst offense I've had in my 11 years. And just in the whole grand scheme of things, being able to execute the hit runs, being able to execute the bunts, being able to execute the base runner style that we wanted, and being able to bang in good situations, that's a big part of this too. I thought we missed a lot of really good pitches to hit this year. I thought we were really inconsistent. We had guys that ran hot streaks. You had guys like Kyle Schimpf that looked like the conference player of the year some weekends. The next weekend looked like, the guy who doesn't even belong in the lineup. So for them to mature another year, I think is going to be really vital for us. We had those conversations. These are the right guys, and and then on top of that, we got more guys we're bringing in too. So obviously, this is recruit. You got to continue to replace guys like Drew Ravens. And when we say replace a guy like Drew Ravens, do you bring in Drew Ravens in the recruiting class? Maybe, maybe not. But does Kyle Schimpf end up putting those numbers because he's a year better and also a year more seasoned? Does Trey Schaefer make that jump for us? Does Cody Gross take his game to another level? He's in the guy who played hurt. He had a good year for us, but maybe he can put up all conference numbers next year. I think the pieces are there for sure for us to take another step forward and get back to the perennial offense that we've been for so many years.
Matt, I know you can't talk specifically about particular guys that you're signing, but maybe areas of need you're looking for? I mean, I know, and there's early signing periods in baseball for those. And then the other question, kind of a spin off of that, going back to the statistics a little bit, is there a goal? Do you say, hey, we want to hit this many home runs, we want to score this many runs, we want to steal this many? Is there like pinpoint goals that you set for a year? How does that work?
Yeah, offensively, no doubt, and obviously pitching wise, Coach Latham sets a goal as well. But offensively, we talk in the power of 300, right? You get the 300 movie. We want 100 HBPs, we want 100 doubles, and we want 100 stolen bases. And we feel like if you do that, you're creating guys on base, you're having the extra base hits to knock guys in, and then also you're taking the extra bags to recreate some situations where you can have a ground out to the shortstop and score a run from third base with less than 2.
100 hit by pitch, 100 doubles.
Yep.
What was the other number?
And 100 stolen bases.
100.
So
okay.
the one goal we reached this year was 100 stolen bases.
93 hit by pitches.
Hit by pitches.
And 82 doubles.
And 82 doubles. So we fell short of those goals. If you compare those to last year's numbers, similar, and again, in those numbers in HBP and the doubles, not a ton of difference. But that's our 3 goals every single year. And we feel like if we do those 3 categories, then we're going to score a lot of runs. And so obviously that's the goal. We've got to get back to, I think, here in the last couple of years, obviously just watching the evolution of the Josh Donaldson era, I think it was a fad. I think that's starting to fade out now. The hashtag no ground balls, launch angle, yada, yada, yada. Guys are realizing, like Webb Bobo, hey, man, you had natural loft to your swing. Now you're trying to do Josh Donaldson. Now you put a hole in your swing. So you go from hitting 280 with 7 home runs and 40-something RBIs. Your senior year, you hit 220 with 4 homers and 20 RBIs. They're going to get away from this. I think Taylor Schwarner was another one that get caught up in that a little bit. Obviously, his numbers plummeted from last year from what his production was. But I think guys will get back to trusting the good old double. Split a gap, get the second base. The extra base hits will be there. And
I saw Miguel Cabrera.
Get out of ballpark.
Miguel Cabrera, who's one of the obviously greatest hitters of all time, just totally bashed that launch angle. He just squashed it.
Yeah, swat it. Well, and they get caught up in launch angle, because everybody gets caught up in numbers. Hey, man, the bigger, the higher the number, the more success you have, right? Well, it's not true in launch angle. There's a perfection to the launch angle that you want for the perfection for the projection.
And those guys are elite athletes as well.
No doubt. Well, and the thing is, that you get the right amount of backspin to get out of the ballpark. If you get a launch angle of 80-something degrees, it's a pop-up is what it is.
Right.
What they don't understand, and some of these teachings that some of these guys try to preach on this launch angle, they don't understand what the reality of it is. They think the greater number maybe is the greater power, not actually the greater backspin.
Matt, let's hold that thought on recruiting and areas of need. We'll get that right when we come back for our final segment here on the Matt Ronser Radio Show, presented by North Oaks Health System and Buddy's Bar and Grill on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
Across divisions, sports, championships, and schools, for nearly 500,000 student athletes, college sports create lifelong opportunity, and that starts with education. We've raised the academic bar, so more are earning degrees, creating healthier campuses by working with the nation's brightest minds, and making sure more have the chance to succeed and are supported on their journey. But beyond the numbers, it's about opportunity, and we're working to provide it for every student athlete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for providing the facilities to meet my health and nutritional needs in order for me to be the best student athlete I can be.
For making game day experiences go from ordinary to extraordinary.
For allowing me to meet new people and build lifelong friendships while competing at the school I love.
For giving me the resources to pursue my degree and the ability to excel in the classroom.
For helping me look my best as I compete and achieve my goals.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back. Just a few minutes left to go here on our program. We're at Buddy's Bar and Grill. I want to thank Buddy's and all they've done for being our host this year, and also North Oaks Health System for being our title sponsor all year long here on the Matt Reiser Radio Show. We'll get Matt's kind of some final thoughts of the season, of the night here in these last 8 or 9 minutes. So here we go, warp speed. Matt, first of all, we were going to talk about it before break. I know you mentioned about some guys that you're going to add to this year's roster, maybe some areas of need and things you're looking to add this offseason.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt. Also, we got to replace the offense we lost in Drew Avens. I think we got to improve defensively. Another year we fielded 960-something. I thought we did that with Cody Gross. I thought Cody brought a lot to the table there at second base for us. And, Carson was a good defender for us last year, but Cody's grit and also just his ability to move around the field, I thought he added some addition there. We've got a shortstop coming in Brian Lawrence, who's a true freshman, who will add some defense there. Trey Harrington, a year better. Obviously there for us as well, who can really defend it. Was more of a defensive replacement for us this year. And we had that in the exit meeting conversation yesterday. Nobody's entitled to a starting job. I don't care how long you've been in the starting lineup. I don't care what you've done in years past. It's going to be what have you done for me lately when we go back into fall ball. Every position is going to be wide open. And also we're going to keep it extremely competitive from that standpoint. And, I think for us, we got to define this closing role. I think that's our two big ones. We've got to find the defense on the left side of the infield. If you look at the left side of our infield, we fielded 920-something at shortstop. We fielded 850 at third base.
It's not going to cut it.
And it's not. It's just not going to be good enough for us to win championships. So really feel like maybe BB may make a move even to third base a little bit. Might help him get a little bit more confident in his defense as well. And it's going to be a year where it's going to be really, really competitive on that left side of the infield for us to come in. We also signed a guy in Jared Denning coming out of California, who's by trade is probably a second-tier catcher. Will replace Be Behind Pace there, who I thought did a fantastic job of emerging there late in the year. His offense came around a little bit. He really matured as a leader. I'm excited about him being a senior and being that part of that leadership for next season. But he also plays first and third base for us as well. So I think that'll give us some options there on the corner to go along with Kyle Schimpf and replace the strength there in the middle of the lineup. He's a power hitter who comes in, led their league in home runs and doubles, but also led their league in walks. And he had 40-something walks to 14 strikeouts in his season there in California. So with that experience coming in, he's a 4.24 kid, went to a 4-year school of Utah, transferred to JUCO, 2-year school, now coming off to our place as a 4-year school. He'll be a big piece of this puzzle as well coming in.
Matt, schedule. We were just kind of talking about it. Maybe the difference between you have the same exact record as 17. Last year we were a 2 seed in a regional. Here you're not. You're left out of the tournament. What was the difference between last year's schedule, this year's schedule, and what's it look like in 19?
Yeah, fans are upset. We're not in the NCAA regional, so am I. Nobody's more upset than I am. And in that, we played 33 home games. Just where we're at in our conference, being a mid-major, we can't play that many home games. And the reason being is because you get 0.8 for home win. Neutral site, you get 1.0. Road wins, you get 1.2. So you got to mix in your fair share of road games, and we'll do that next year. We're going to open up with La Tech at home next year. Obviously, the Great Insight rival. They're 59 in the RPI. That'll be obviously a really solid weekend for us. Stony Brook, who played in the College World Series a few years ago, will come in the second weekend as well. The third weekend, we're gonna leave on Wednesday, play at Mississippi State in their brand new ballpark, and then head over to Troy, who just got announced as an at-large bid there for the NCAA regional as well, 39 in the RPI. And then our bye weekend, we're going to Oklahoma State, another at-large club who is in the 20-something RPI.
So you take care of business next year. That shouldn't be an issue with all those
Should
road
not
games.
be an issue. We're going to play less home games. I think we got 27 home games compared to 33 this past year.
And as a fan, that stinks.
It does.
Because we have such a great atmosphere.
It does. But at the same time, I might save some livers. I think our fans had a really good time at the ballpark. Miss Lindsay Kramer and her group there did a fantastic job of creating just a really neat atmosphere. I mean, we've gone to places, Vanderbilt and LSU and ULL. I think we put on probably the best production in the country, to be honest with you, and they do a really, really good job of creating that environment. So they'll have a little bit less work next year, not quite as much work as we put on this year, but it will definitely be a exciting home schedule as well. I mean, to have La Tech at home, that's going to be packed. To have Stony Brook at home, obviously knowing that they were in a College World Series a few years ago, that'll be exciting as well. We'll play on normal ULL, Tulane, We'll have to go to Southern Miss next year, or just the way the schedule works out. We
Another
do the
RPI
1-1-1. RPI, again, will be in our favor there as well. And then we're trying to find one more game to finish off our 56 games. So I think just the way it's set up for us, if we take care of business like we're supposed to, then I think we'll be in really, really good shape from that standpoint.
Matt, before we say goodbye, do you want to say something quickly about this group over here? You know, and who I'm pointing to since it's on the radio and you can't see.
Yeah.
His coaching staff, the wives, and you have one of the younger coaching staffs in the nation. You have young kids, if you can hear them in the background yelling here tonight. But so glad that they were here tonight, and I know that you love that group.
Yep.
You all right? If you can see that on camera, he don't have. He speaks. I'm telling you, I know that this coaching staff is super close. He's got those kids over there, and it's been a fun group to be a part of. And Matt, I appreciate you, and what you've done. I've said this many times here on our program, and I'll say it again, and not just because we're friends, but I think you do as good a job as anybody in the country. And I know that we're real close to getting this thing, It's already at another level. We're getting it to another level, and I appreciate you and what you've done here at Southeastern.
Yep, extremely proud of that group, man. We're very fortunate to have the group we've had the last 3 years. Doesn't happen very often, to be honest with you, to be able to keep a staff intact like that, to have the family atmosphere that we've created. But it's the people around our program that have done it. And we wish Coach Mamu all the best. He is taking a high school job there at Pearl River with his father-in-law. He probably doesn't want me to announce that yet, but we are going to lose him.
It's out there now.
Yeah, very appreciative
Breaking
of him
news.
and what he's brought. He'll still be around for the home football games and bring that good old Cajun cooking back around for the tailgates and for the recruits as well. But we'll have to make some changes this season. We're losing Miss Taylor Marshall as well, who is our director of operations, who has graduated. So there'll be some new additions, but they will still be around the program and still be involved in our program and forever be a Lion for life.
Well, Matt, literally, we have about a minute left. Anything you want to close out here tonight? This is our final show here tonight as we head into the offseason.
Yep. Just very appreciative of our seniors. Again, I told them in their exit meetings, just there's no way to put in words how indebted I am to them for the rest of their life, for the rest of my life, what they've brought to our program, not only as a player but as a person as well. Extremely proud of where they've grown and what they've grown into. They embody what we talk about every year, and it's never easy to say goodbye to those groups. But in the same breath, we were excited about the new groups that comes in, the foundation they've laid for the group to come behind them, and knowing how involved they will be in our program for the rest of their lives as well. So again, just can't say it in words, but at least can announce it on radio how proud of them they are, and wish them the best in their future endeavors as well.
Well, thank you, Matt, and again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I have a lot of fun doing this with you each and every Monday night. I counted it up this year for Southeastern Athletics. I did 31 of these shows between Coach Roberts, Coach Ladner, and then I stayed busy this year. I'm going to enjoy a little break here, and the next time the network will be on the radio will be for the Frank Selfo show later in the fall. I want to thank Dustin Arroyo. He's been here for almost every one of the shows. Also, Richie Clark from North Shore Broadcast. He comes to almost every show, and he's one of the guys that makes sure that the affiliates get on the air. I gave you love. I just gave it. You weren't paying attention. I gave you some love. As that's going to do it for us for one final time here for the Matt Reiser Radio Show. I'm Alan Waddell. This has been the Matt Reiser Radio Show presented by North Oaks Health System and Buddy's Barn Grill on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
You've been listening to the Matt Reiser Radio Show on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network. The Matt Reiser Radio Show is a product of Lion Sport Properties. More information on how you can support future broadcasts is available through Lion Sport Properties at area code 985-549-2570.